Okay, so
shouldn't be, but
super informal, unstructured. Let's just talk about Persona 4 Golden and our experiences playing it. First things first, anyone that's new here, I'm Earthquaker. How's it going? Rafe, you want to introduce yourself?
hello, I am Kitty Goror.
Fair enough. And Nathan, you're welcome to introduce yourself as well if you want to chat.
Hi, I'm Loading Death 27, and I will be very quiet except for when I'm not.
That actually adds up. So just wanted to I guess not really like review Persona 4. It's not really a retrospective either, but I guess just like a general discussion of how you felt about it. Playing through it, being done with it now.
Been silent up till now, and now you're gonna make noise, little boy. That sounds about right.
Well, you see, the other three of us have introduced ourselves.
That's completely
He can't
fair.
even hear what you guys are saying.
So you think.
So first things first, Rafe, I know it was your first Persona game. What did you think of the gameplay of Persona and SMT in general?
Well, I mean, I was warned that it was a JRPG going into it, and it is definitely that.
That's fair enough, I guess. How would you compare it to like Pokemon if someone's just trying to get into a more serious RPG, or maybe your standard like Final Fantasy?
It's definitely I would definitely rate it like the closest to some of the Final Fantasies, but oh god, this is gonna go over well. Almost 13-2, because there's an aspect of that where you can like gather like minion type things and use them in battle, but other than that you've also got like a slightly flexible party. Like, it's so weird though. It has enough unique elements to it that it's hard to actually, like, it feels apples and oranges to compare it to any other like JRPG that I've played.
Sure. How'd you feel about the dating sim / visual novel aspects of your first Persona game?
They found a way to make a dating sim feel like not a dating sim. That's how I'm gonna put that, because like that's basically what it is. You know, if you've ever played any of those old fucking flash game dating sims, like it's basically that, but not.
Sure. Okay. You're playing Persona 5 now. How would you say the gameplay compares to a newer Persona game? Do you think it's worth people going back and playing P4G?
Yeah. It's definitely the menus don't flow as well as P5 does, but it's definitely still serviceable, especially, you know, for fucking $20 on Steam. Absolutely.
All right. Next thing I really wanted to touch on was story. How do you feel about P4G as a story? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it?
I liked it. It wasn't so past just SMT story, like the actual, oh god, how the hell do I want to phrase past? How do I actually want to phrase this? It's a good story, if not like super inspired, if that makes sense.
Sure. Do you mean like in terms of just it's a general SMT punch God in the face sort of thing? Or
I mean, there's that, which, like, granted, you know, like as you say, it was my first Persona game, so it was like it, you know, it had the novelty to it still. Like, but as far as the actual storyline, which sparing spoilers, because if you're watching any sort of like review type video, you might not have played the game. Like the actual like connecting story beats that lead you to air quotes punching God in the face, like they're, you know, they're pretty tropey. If you've seen a slice of life anime, there's a good chance that you've seen a story pretty similar to the one that it lays down in front of you.
sure. Yeah,
But it's still good. Like they do good at writing the story, but it is very there's a lot of cliches going on, that's for sure.
I think P4G has often been compared to, or well, Persona 4 in general, but it's been compared to like Scooby-Doo. And I think that's pretty apt, honestly. It feels like you're playing Japanese Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Which, that's not entirely a bad thing.
It's not. I actually like that comparison quite a bit because it totally is like, well, uh-oh. What do we do next, gang?
Jinkies.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, from my perspective, because I had played a Persona game before going into P4G, the story's serviceable. I think that, like, its twists are pretty twisty, but I got kind of annoyed at, like, how many failure points there are.
Oh god, yeah. There are a lot of ways to not get great endings to that game. Like the twists are pretty twisty. I had a line of thought and it just evaporated away.
That's fair.
Gosh, now
Yeah.
I'm mad.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I think that the overall story, of course I've never beat the original Persona 4, but the overall story for P4G seems like not a lot could have possibly changed, which makes it kind of feel like, was it really worth it for P4G over P4 for some people? I'm sure. Obviously if you're playing this now, it's probably best to just pick it up on PC, but if you have a Vita and you don't have a computer you think will run it, which it'll probably run on a toaster if we're being honest, but
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely worth picking it up one way or the other. That being said, I've beat P5R and I feel like P5R added a lot of weight and gameplay to the end of the game that just I don't think P4G really gave the same sort of feeling. Though the story was still interesting.
Yeah, there was some things that they tried really hard to like pay off, and like it didn't. It felt like the payoff wasn't there, or like it could have been more. I'm not entirely sure on that, because
Sure.
like there was definitely supposed, like there's one scene that comes to mind that was like super heavy scene, super invested in the character action that's going on, and then a little bit later they try and kind of like pull the same maneuver, and it just doesn't work as well that time.
I mean, I feel like it's because you know the game will do things like that.
Yeah, like I will speak as vaguely as possible for the sake of spoilers. Like the Nanako story stuff that happens, and then the Marie story stuff that happens is specifically what I'm looking at.
Yep. And
And I liked them both as characters. I was invested in them both as characters, but the Marie one just did not pay off as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely fair. And a lot of people feel that Marie was forced as a character. Whether you agree with that or not is completely subjective. And there have been many criticisms of characters introduced in P5R to the same effect.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that's something that, like, you kind of need to go in expecting, I guess. Because Marie's a big sticking point on P4G for a ton of people. I guess my next point that we should probably talk about is characters. Like, how do you feel about the characters? Were they complex enough for you? And how do you feel about, like, the social links that you completed?
Characters, definitely the best part of the game. Is like, I feel like no matter what type of person you are, you're gonna find at least a couple characters in the cast that resonate pretty well with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a super varied cast. That being said, there's gonna be some characters that you despise. I think we all have one off the top of our heads.
No, what?
One or two.
Yeah, that frickin' pop star though.
Oof. Do you have a character you think like was real standout for you that sort of made your experience?
I really liked Dojima.
That's fair.
I mean, like, both of the Dojimas were super good, but like the father figure of the game, he had a good arc. It was a cliche arc, but he had a good arc.
Sure. I kind of feel like the both of the Dojimas really make Persona 4. Like, I don't think that the game would work very well without them. Especially in order to get the true ending of the game, you need to have both of them maxed out, and obviously one of the biggest story beats in the game revolves around them. So, like, I would hope that they are good characters, you know?
Oh yeah. And even, like, you know, branching out to the more well, like, kind of the satellite cast around the around what's going on with the Dojimas, like, you know, they're all okay, they're not all, but for the most part, like, they're definitely, like, they're about the cast that you would, well, phrasing on everything. So, like, if you took, here's how I'm gonna lay this out. If you took any three of basically any of the social links in the game and grouped them together, they could be the main party of some random anime you've watched.
Sure. That sounds accurate.
It feels very likely that technically they have been.
Well, I mean, especially if you've watched the Persona anime.
That's an understatement.
But no, like, because, like, you know, I could totally see, like, you know, something where it's like fucking Kanji and Chie and fucking, like, Adachi, say.
Sure.
And like,
that would be an interesting anime.
Right, like, it's just Chie and Kanji going and, like, punching fools in the face, and, like, Adachi is constantly on their ass about it, right? As, like, the detective character. Yeah, like I don't know, the characters are super varied. There's likable ones, there's not likable ones, but I think who falls on what side depends largely on your circumstances and personality and stuff. Yosuke was the only character I was truly disappointed with, but that's mostly just because of cut content and changes that were done with his character. I feel like he just could have been so much better.
I agree. I feel like Yosuke and Teddy were the characters that really just like grated on my nerves. Which is sucky but true. And in the end, like I don't know if it really matters. I think some of their growth is cheapened by some of the spin-off games that I've played. They don't really feel like the characters actually grew, and I don't know if that's just because the spin-off games they try to like keep characters consistent, and like Persona Q, they get pulled out in the middle of the game. It's before the game's actually over, so if you're like in the middle, it makes sense that their character arc's not really done. And I know a lot of people have problems with some of the ways that P4G recontextualize characters, especially like Chie. A lot of people feel really got minced down into just I like meat.
I am super curious about like what got recontextualized with the characters for, because like obviously I haven't played P4.
Mm-hmm.
And like unlike P5 versus P5R, like P4 and P4G are old enough games that people aren't generally talking about it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. The biggest one that I hear the most often is Chie and the meat thing.
Yes, steak.
And that's become her character in most of the spin-offs as well, is just I like steak. Steak, steak, steak. Steak, 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 steak.
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 Yeah,
that's fair. That's totally fair.
On that note, though, how do you feel about Marie as a character? Because she's one that also gets people going. Because you know she was added specifically for Golden.
Right. Aesthetically, dig her character design. I'm not sure that like her arc is super weird. So I could definitely see where like it was kind of strained where they were, what they were trying to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
And like the poetry thing was super duper weird, and then like you get the payoff for it and you're like, oh, okay, that's what they were doing. But like Marie still best girl, but was trying to imagine the game without her in it and like all of the like third semester stuff, and like God, P4 had to have been way different, because like they really tried to lean in on it, like basically for, you know, the last couple months basically before third semester. It's basically all about Marie.
Yeah, well, the wild thing is that in PQ and PQ2, they keep the poem thing going. So like you still have the middle of the game vibe going on, and PQ basically happens about 80% of the way through P3 and P4. So you get pulled. Most of the characters have had some degree of development done, but you still have Marie and poems, which I feel like is a big disservice to her as a character, and they could have done a lot better, honestly. Oh well.
Yeah. Interesting though. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about Marie, honestly. Especially with trying to avoid like super spoilery things. Her actual character, I mean, person with amnesia, right? Super cliche, super played out. They did all right. I like there's some really cute interactions with her where you're like basically like, you know, trying to teach her how to be a fucking person, basically.
Right. Yeah, I heard.
But at the same time, like she's super freaking snotty sometimes. It's super annoying.
I hate you, stupid jerk face jerk.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
It's like she 180s between like being super reasonable and like solemn and like I wish I knew who I was and thank you so much for helping me and I fucking hate you, stupid jerk face.
Yeah, she's the epitome of 2014 Tumblr.
Oof.
I think that's the best way to put it.
Just think of what you think of a teenage high school girl on the internet.
Oof.
I mean that is the stereotype for
Smash the dislike button? Question mark.
It's. I mean, I don't think it's fair, but it's definitely the stereotype that exists.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, her character does fit like does fit that. So I guess maybe it was intentional, but it was definitely annoying.
Yes.
So last major point I have, how did you feel about P4G just as a cohesive game? Would you recommend it? And do you think it's a decent starting point since it's where you started?
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point. As far as the game as a cohesive whole, it feels good to play. I mean, like once I sunk my teeth into it, y'all were having a hard time getting me to do actually anything else. You know, the fucking sound design, with the exception of those stupid scooter attacks just being randomly way too freaking loud versus everything else. Like the sound effects, the music, God, the music. Like it's really good, and like it's menu-based combat, but it's menu-based combat that feels good.
Sure.
The animations are pretty dope. The personas themselves are fantastic. You take the good and the bad of like the characters in the story with, you know, it's got some good things, it's got some bad things, and all together, yeah, but definitely if you're into either JRPGs or like a fucking dungeon delving simulator of some capacity, or like even just a visual novel with like social link stuff, with the different like difficulty settings and stuff that they have, especially on the PC release of it, like you're gonna have a hard time going wrong. You might have to tweak your experience a little bit to really get what you're looking for. You know, if you really just want a visual novel with some like combat and stuff on it, I could see, you know, turning down the difficulty, turning up the experience and stuff so you don't have to interact with some of the systems.
Mm-hmm.
But the combat system itself, like the element system and everything, it's all very good. The buffs, debuffs are good. Most of them are useful, which is a refreshing change of pace. I know a lot of other JRPGs, you're like, oh yeah, debuff the enemy's attack. I will literally never use this. Do yourself a favor, use that ability. They're super good.
I think I've obviously already finished Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, so for me going back to Persona 4 was kind of I think of it like culture shock. Just because P5 has so many amenities and like quality of life things. So honestly, I think if I were to recommend to somebody a Persona game to start with, it would probably be P4. If P3 ever gets released on PC with like updated stuff from P3P, but with like an actual game that's not just a visual novel, and has the answer from FES, like that would be the best place to start, just to lean yourself into the series and see where it went over time. But I think P4 is probably the best starting point right now, so that you don't like spoil yourself on the rest of the games trying to go backwards, because it definitely took me a long time to beat P4 after having played P5, and I think you got through P4 pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was like a month and
like-
a half ish, and you were streaming it, so
Yeah. Yeah, like if I would definitely recommend it over starting with P5. Not because I think it's necessarily a better game than P5, but like it is a much older game than P5. There is definitely there were some system changes and they were for the better. So like if you try P4 or P4G, I should specify, and you enjoy it, I think you will enjoy P5 more. And if you don't necessarily like P4G, it depends a lot on the nature of your complaints about it. But it's probably still worth trying P5 afterwards, because like there's enough changes to it that like it does feel like a different game in a lot of ways.
yeah. I think that it's going to be interesting over time. Once you beat P5, I want to come back and have a conversation about which one you thought was better, and what you think of the systems that were changed in P5 versus P4. Just at the end, which one you think was a better experience, and I think we'll have to make another video when you do finish P5. There will be a lot that I'll want to talk about. But that being said, I'm really glad that you did play P4, and hopefully we can indoctrinate more people into Persona over time.
Well, like the rabbit hole's just the beginning. That's the worst part.
Right.
Like, it's like, all right, play this one, and we'll play P5R because easy access to it on the PlayStation, and then we start digging into like some convoluted methods of playing some of the older games while we wait for the releases at the beginning of 2021. There's SMT is stacked right now. There's so much coming out.
That's for sure. Well,
So
thank
definitely.
you very much for recording with me today. Anyone that made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more stuff in the future. Leave a comment down below and let us know what your first Persona game was, and what you think your favorite one is now. Hit the like button or the dislike button if you absolutely hated what we said. Rafe, you want to go ahead and plug yourself?
Smash! I'm sorry. Yeah. I like I said earlier, I'm Kitty Go Roar. I stream on Twitch. I technically have a YouTube, but let's not talk about that. That's pretty much all I got.
Fair enough.
Come hang out in the Discord.
Sure.
Do it.
And
It's fun.
I apparently need to update some Discord links, but check it out. The Discord link in the description. We talk about all kinds of things, from Dark Souls to Persona to Final Fantasy 14. Whatever you want. We have like art sections and voice channels, and you can come hang out with us and just have a good time. That being said, we love you guys. Thanks for another great video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.